How you doing, Whitney?
I am good, tired, but good.
I bet. I bet.
They had open house tonight at the elementary school,
fun.
so it was a little,
And you made it now. Did the children go with you?
yeah, all of them.
Of course.
Yep.
That basically explains what conservation commissions are about,
Okay.
who they owe their responsibilities to and so forth.
It comes
This agency reading.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's something you're gonna have to study a bit to understand what are as a member of the conservation.
Yeah.
So I guess to come back today, but maybe.
So I just.
From
Well, I've been on it 9
So I'll leave.
years.
Tell Mary
Yeah,
Ann.
I'm for somebody else to come on, and I've got other things that I want to do. I'm not gonna be avoided conservation activities.
Well, that's good to do.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah.
How's it going, Shirley?
The process.
Crazy.
Determination, see what happens.
How about you?
Okay.
Oh, my God, Celia and the farm being told. and
The farm
everything. Yeah, what a mess.
Oh,
Some of the people just packed up and left and went to North Carolina.
oh boy.
So they can't keep it running, you know, just now. So
It's sad.
it's very sad. She's having a hard time, but she's dealing. So we've been working down there. So she's trying to find just they're trying to find just the right place, person.
Well, it's 7 o'clock, so I call a meeting to order.
It don't.
Record attendance, so give, Mrs. Meager your name.
Lee Davis,
Give your Shirley.
Shirley.
Gerald Tice.
Ed Rippey.
Okay, the next item is the approval of the minutes of the September 14th meeting. Have you all read those?
yes,
Okay,
We also had September 7th, right? in the
Yeah.
Packet, okay.
I didn't bring those with me. That was a special meeting, right?
Um,
Seventh was the regular meeting.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, everybody read the 7th?
yeah.
I had a couple comments, a couple
Okay.
things with me.
Right.
On line 52, it was me that suggested that the New Hampshire, and it's New Hampshire Lakes, Lake Smart.
Lake Smart 2 Lakes with an S.
Yep, it's NH Lakes is what it's called. And then Lake Smart.
Okay.
Yeah. And then on one other thing on 114. Said that I suggested the Conservation Commission may be interested. I didn't say that because I
Okay.
didn't say as a trust, I just presented the information.
Right, do you want me to just
Right,
strike,
'cause
strike the,
Because I didn't think it was appropriate for you to.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I'm just gonna say members discussed, the Conservation Commission
Yeah,
interest in donating.
right, that's.
Okay.
Any other comments or corrections?
I didn't see any.
Even though I wasn't a member at the time.
So all in favor of approving the September 7th minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approved. Now we can move to the September 14th. Anybody got any corrections there that they need to put in? Hearing none, I will ask for approval of the minutes of September 14th.
I moved to approve them.
Second,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
I just want to comment, the budget, the meeting on the seventh, you talked about having a $3,000 budget. And then I noticed this is $3,600, which is good. I'm glad it's more.
Well, it will have to be the budget committee that finally decides, I guess, what we can do and what the budget will be. I think the $600 was added for the possibility of additional fees for this recording secretary and trail.
Hi, Craig.
Okay, the next item of business is the August 15th incomplete wetland permit notification. And that follows with September 6th, the denied wetland permit notification for the same property. The reason it was denied was that these people failed to complete the application in the appropriate time. So if you don't do that, then DES denies your permit and you have to start all over again. So that was the reason for that. Next is August 17th, forestry statutory permit by notification. We don't have much input there. That's just for your information, that tax map 5 lot 2, if you want to look it up and see where it's going to be harvested. This is a property owned by Welch and it's 48.9 acres and it's already been harvested. She has a shooting range there that she used to be a competitive skeet shooter and she goes there and
She owns a gun shop.
Is it the one in Lebanon?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wondered.
so that was why she was clearing that land to I think recoup some funding from the sale of the lumber and open up the area a little bit more for her activities. New business. September 6th, there's a standard dredge and fill wetland permit application for map 27 lot 2. This is along Shaker Boulevard. And that's basically what you have is all we have received. I have been after the town clerk to request more information from these people, and the regulations say that when she signs the permit, all of the materials, including the additional stuff, the maps, the schedules for activity, any blueprints are supposed to be provided immediately to several groups. The trouble is they're just bringing in the permit application and not accompanying it with the documents that are supposed to be provided to the Conservation Commission, the board, the planning board, and so forth. So I contacted the DES and they said yes, that she has the authority to request those and not sign the permit unless they're submitted. So that's where that stands. I have no idea what the dredge and fill application is about, how much they're going to dredge, where they're going to fill, what kind of material they're going to replace their dredging with, if any, and what they're going to build there.
I went into the town because there was no attachment on this.
That's right.
And so I went in and I asked if I could get a copy of this particular item. And they looked and they finally found it. And
Oh, they did.
yeah, they did find something. And I looked at it, it looks like someone must have put a dock in.
I was gonna, sometimes
Yeah.
that's the time when they need to do that, and that's what,
Yeah,
I was discussing with Glenn just before we left, cause I looked at it and I said, how can we make a comment on something you don't know what it is?
yeah, there's nothing there. There's
No.
nothing there. So I was interested because it was a dredge permit, because I kind of would like to look into doing something like that at our place. But it's just a dock. It's a request
Yeah.
to put it down.
It's generally a very minimal thing that they'll approve. They very seldom approve dredge.
As long as the dock is
Yeah.
appropriate size.
Right, and it doesn't go out too far.
Right, correct. Okay, September 12th, shoreline permit application, tax map 24, lot 2. This is one of those, very narrow and long lots, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Goes to Mascoma Lake. So,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that,
That's like,
the questions I have on that, and that's something I guess the planning board will have to wrestle with. The town, ordinances require a 15-foot setback from each borderline of the adjoining properties and a 20-foot setback from the road. That property is 60 feet wide. And if you have a 15-foot setback on either side, that leaves 30 feet. I went over and looked at that property, and from the shoreline of Mascoma Lake to Shaker Boulevard, there isn't a single tree or bush. Now, there's supposedly 150 feet of woodland in there that has to be replanted if they're going to build a house there. They're going to build a house of 2,000 square feet. And I think it's going to be 3 bedrooms. And they want to build it in the space that was occupied by a house that burned down on that property some 20 years ago. So I have no idea what the planning board will consider. We never got any plans other than the material that is provided that I showed you last time, which gives us some pictures. This is one of the pictures. You didn't bring any of you brought that stuff with you?
I got it on my
Okay.
iPad.
I
Well,
have some that I can project here too from the property
have it.
card.
it's only like
You have those, you don't have these diagrams, though, do you?
0.36.
This is the whole packet.
What pages?
There's no vegetation on this particular thing.
I didn't get a packet. And
That looks like this right here.
That's actually another one. This is the one that I was thinking about, because you
Okay.
could see all the way to pretty much to the lake with this.
Oh, yeah.
So
But-
this looks like the photo that they have,
Yeah, that's
one of the
right.
photos that they're
That's the
using.
one.
Look at the runoff.
Now, the house, I'm not sure whether the house on the right, there's a big Dempsey dumpster there that I think they're going to demolish something to put it in there, because there's a lot of secondary structures on this property that were shown. But if the house on the right
And the left.
is one of the abutters, which I don't think it can be, and the house on the left is the abutter, then the 30-foot, or the 15-foot setback on each side doesn't seem to be accommodatable, but that's neither here nor there for us.
You'd also have to be able to put a septic system in.
Yes, they're gonna put a septic system in there. The property is 243 feet long, which is less than the 250-foot setback that's usually required for additional protection of the watershed according to the ordinances. But I think this is gonna be a matter for the planning board to decide. Apparently, the property has been owned and it was subdivided according to the deeds that were submitted. It was originally subdivided in what the hell the date is, 1849, something like that, 18. Yeah,
Wow,
It's a couple of years ago.
right.
wow.
Amazing.
So this basically is an indication of what I would consider to be the lackadaisical ordinances in those days that allowed these kind of lots to be developed.
Yeah, I'm surprised it was done in that year. There weren't many people that
Well, I may be,
lived on the lake.
I know it was in the 1800s because I read it, but I can't find the exact date. It may have been 1898 or something like that.
It's amazing.
To see the time. it
Yeah,
was truly
1889.
seasonal.
It
Now
said,
that
Yeah.
a certain tract or parcel of land with all the buildings and improvements thereon located at the head of Mascoma Lake in the town of Enfield, county of Grafton, and state of New Hampshire. Said lot being known as lot number 5 on a plan of cottage lots drawn by A.B. Downs in 1889.
Well,
And
Isn't
is
that
more
something?
particularly bounded and described as follows. So the lot was originally number 5, but that's not the case now. It's lot number 2. So, okay. Any comments of that? Does anybody think that the Conservation Commission should do anything about pointing or bringing to the attention the problems associated with the,
well, I would hope they enforce the setbacks, the 15 feet on each side for the sake of their.
well, that's an ordinance that the planning
The
board
planning board, yeah.
would do that, I would think.
Be interesting to go to that meeting.
Yeah, well, if I'm still around, I'll let you know when that meeting is gonna be.
So you'll be the notification when it's gonna be.
Well, if the notification is before I have resigned, yes, but if it comes after December 31st, it will.
But I mean, you
somebody
normally
else.
get notification of when these come up at this planning or zoning.
Check the
The,
agenda.
the agenda of the planning board will have it.
Oh, okay.
That's what you have to watch for.
We'll all have to watch for that.
Yeah, because
Take
that'd be
care of
interesting to
ourselves.
see what they showed when it was presented.
Okay, correspondence, the, Mascoma Bank has sent the September, notification of the, balance in the conservation fund. It hasn't changed any. Actually, there's a $1.33 in interest that was deposited. So we now have $16,752.35. And you got that in the packet that was sent to you by Rob Taylor.
Is the date of July 1st or July 31st?
It's July
correct?
31st, but I just got it.
Okay, all right, but. it's
I have
the
no
correct date.
idea whether they're gonna send one. Sometimes they send one every month, sometimes it's a couple of months. I think they figure, well, if there's no really significant change, what's the point?
Mm.
We'll put them in budget season regularly too.
Yeah, right, okay.
That's when they,
Okay, I got a late correspondence here from, Bill Shabbat is the chair of the Conservation Commission in Canaan. And he is, asking people in the Enfield Conservation Commission if they would like to attend a talk that's going to be given on November. Yeah. I've got it here somewhere. November 14th at 6:30 PM at the Mascoma Health Clinic. The Mascoma Health Clinic is,
Roberts Road.
yes.
yeah, I
Yeah,
got it
right.
here. I got the direction from him because I didn't know where it was either.
Yeah, it's right on Route 4.
Right
right
at the-
So
across
you
the
all know where it
road.
is. It's also gonna be by Zoom, and he's going to send me the, access codes and so forth as soon as he has them.
And that's November 14th?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
November 14th, and the talk at 6:30. The talk is gonna be given by Andrew French, who's a wildlife refuge manager of the Silvio Conti National Fish and Wildlife Refuge in Hadley, Massachusetts.
Hmm.
So if any of you can go in person, I think that would help to, fill up the room, and if not, you can look it up in Zoom and hear what he has to say.
I'll go.
And what's it called? Wildlife, what's the title of the presentation? What did you say? Wildlife.
What date is the 14th?
It's November 14th, but there was a title to it and I'm not sure.
Well, that's okay.
It's a Tuesday.
Oh, good. Good. No, I'll go.
It's a talk about the Friends of the Conti Network.
What's that?
Conti Network is apparently this Conti, during the last 20 years at Conti Andrew has focused on working with youth and young adults as well as improving accessibility. And large parts of Andrew's work is considering strategy, public access to these lands. So it's basically a review of his activities with public relations for conservation efforts on this particular piece of property in Massachusetts.
Jay will be interested in that. I'm sure.
Well, he got this packet. Okay, anybody else has any announcements to make from correspondence or otherwise?
Yes, I'd like to talk about our little, thing at the farmer's market. Is
Yeah,
this a good time to talk about it?
Yeah.
Right, this is about the trail volunteers and, it was very well received. And, we had these big things up with the, what are they called? QR codes.
Mhm.
We had them all and people were taking pictures of them, you know, so they could go in and one was for the rain garden. One was for, the Conservation Commission and the other was the volunteers. And I had some people who gave me names and, that they wanted they would be watching for whenever the date was. And
The date for what?
for the trail maintenance,
Oh, I see. Well, that's.
you know,
good.
cause it's kind of getting fragmented because people are asking me and so, but I thought it was very well received. Jay had all the, maps of the wildlife corridors and all this, and the people were just very, very interested. And another thing I thought was interesting was there was one lady who stopped and, she was interested in helping with the trail, but she said her daughter belonged to the art club at Muskoma High School. And they were always looking for projects to help the community. So I just sort of threw the idea to her about the rain gardens and maybe these young artists would like to draw pictures of paint pictures of the native plants that might make a rain garden, so. And she says, oh my gosh, I bet they'd love it, because they always were looking to get involved in the community. So I just threw that out. I've got her name.
Well, why don't you follow it up then?
I will follow up with it if I thought it was a great idea,
yeah.
Well, any involvement of the community can't help but be a benefit to the Conservation Commission and conservation in general.
Absolutely. And I think the young people getting,
Well, we need that.
yes, we do. So
So what about the Boy Scout project?
I've never heard a word back from anybody. But she said that it would be great if you needed trail markers painted. What better than having these kids who are into art come in and, paint
Well,
the trail marker. I mean, but she was just saying, cause she read what we needed the volunteers for. But anyway, but it was very well received. And, like I said, a lot of people took the QR codes, which I learned all about. And, so when the date goes out, they know where to sign up.
Mr. Sanborn, do you
Yes,
have anything to add or comments to make?
and what was just reported, yes, I do. In terms of volunteering, what it says on the posters that, I have put up around the town is that people are supposed to contact the town office, which will then contact the trailmaster. It's not a matter of the date goes out and only then can we find out about them.
Okay.
It's an open sort of, whenever you want to volunteer, we'd be glad to have you be in contact, but it's gotta be done through the town office.
Okay, I think that's what this QR, it gives the steps.
I hope so.
But one person already made out an application here, so it was kind of, a lot of people asking a lot of questions at the same time and everybody getting very excited about working on the trail,
Well,
so.
that's good. We would be glad to have them.
Mhm.
We can certainly find work for any willing worker. And the point is, they have to follow the channels they've been shown. They've got to register with the town office, who will then send their contact info on to me.
Oh, good, okay,
That's what it says,
okay,
Very good.
thank you.
as far as it goes.
Anything else? You've got the lumber for the,
Well, if I may address the commission,
yes, of course.
all right. Let's see. With the money that has been made available, it was last Thursday, a week ago, that I was able to get in 10 3x8 by 8 foot rough sawn full dimension hemlocks out of Wright's in White Junction. I then stored those in the town shed, not far from the pressure treated that I bought from Ravelli's a few weeks before. Today's Thursday. Well, on Tuesday, I went and I picked up some of them and I turned 2 of the 4x4 by 8 foots into 2-foot sills. So we had 8 of those, which is none too many. And on Wednesday morning, having 1, 2, 3, 4 of us volunteers, and the key to the gate given me by lent me by the highway department, loaded up to the truck and drove out to the Bicknell Brook Trailhead. Drove as far in as I can, given the condition of the trail there. And we took all 8 of the pieces of
Wow.
hemlock into the first site, which needed some bridges. I'd never been there. One of us turned out to be very willing to keep on dragging hemlock, even as the others were already setting and building bridges. So he made a very valuable contribution, keeping us supplied. And the end result is, in about 2 hours on site, we built 3 such bridges.
Wow.
And when you have all the parts got to the same measurements and you have all the tools and fastenings there, and you already know where these things ought to go, they go awfully fast.
Cool.
And we happen to have 2 of us who are pretty good rough carpenters, and they brought along the screw guns and the spare batteries, and all worked out, they're selected by May say so. Most of the credit going to them, of course, they did the work, and just stood around cutting away on pictures. So when we had done that, we had 3 new bog bridges, each 8 feet long. We had the materials for another one. We had the existing 16-foot pressure treated boardwalk there. And the crew kind of did much like the idea of taking that apart and taking it further along the trail to where it could be used to become a bridge over a brook. Okay, well, let's walk out there and measure things and consider. The only way to run the volunteer crew is by consulting and consensus, and where you have to exercise your authority, you do, but it should not be the first choice. So we walked out there, 3 of us, the one who was spending his time bringing more planks in from the road and had to go home by then. We walked out there and we considered and we measured, and we have decided that it would be better if we can build one out there by the same methods as the 3 that we've already built, which is 3x8 hemlock beams on 4x4 sills. And over there, we find that it is possible to use existing rock. So if you have one span of 8 foot and another span of 10 foot to get you to the opposite bank. And it'll be necessary to put a wooden crib, so to speak, on a rock in the brook in order to support an 8 foot bridge of hemlock and a 10 foot. Okay, that's the plan, the idea. And we also find that the 16-foot pressure treated boardwalk there, which when eventually it degrades, you've got to haul it out of there into the PT. Versus with hemlock, when it finally rots, you toss it in the woods it came from, and it finishes rotting. We can sense the best thing to do would be this. We use the 8 foot we already have there to go further down the trail and be one span, of which the other would be a 10-foot length, two planks, 2 beams, to get us 18 feet across the brook at that. Meantime, back at this original site where there are now 3 8-footers, a 16-footer in PT, we can take that apart. I mean, if it's screwed together, it'll all come apart. And then we can take that out of there, the short distance back to the truck, and stage it somewhere to be used on another project somewhere where it's much closer to the road. And by having another 10-foot, another couple of 10-foot pieces of hemlock, we will then be able to replace that one and have the bridge long enough to go over the mud hole that it presently is 16-footer is presently overfilled. Okay, that's a long and detailed version of it, but essentially we have built 3 8-footers as planned. We want to remove the 16-foot PT and save it for other bridge or bridges later. And we want to have 2 10-foot pieces to go in that site. And we want to have 2 10-foot pieces to go across the brook, with the remaining 8-foot pieces not yet used being with that. So we have an 18-foot bridge out there, and that will do a fine job of spanning that brook at basically the easiest place. I think it's fair to say you get a total of 34 feet there. And what we need to have is more hemlock to finish this. We already have enough PT 4x4s for sills for the remaining proposed bridges, so that's not an issue. We do need to have 4 pieces of 10-foot long 3x8 hemlock. I telephoned Wright Sawmill, and they say that those 10-footers would be $30 a piece. We need 4 of them. That is $120 to buy those particular timbers. And therefore, I hope someone to make a motion to appropriate $120 so we can buy those 4 10-footers to finish out this project with all new hemlock. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you for the rundown. So what, if any, you think about appropriating an additional $120 to supply? That's all you're gonna need. You've got enough screws for the,
We have enough fasteners. We
okay,
have enough pressure treated for the sills. The one thing we need is longer hemlock.
okay.
For
So $120 is,
is the price that Ray quoted to me today.
okay.
Yeah, well, I move to appropriate. I think we need to provide the materials that are necessary.
I agree. I'll second.
Okay, now the question is, we need an invoice of some kind in order to get this treasurer to allocate this funding either from our regular budget or from the Conservation's, trust fund.
Mm-hmm.
So can you do that the way you did the first time with rights? Cause this is coming from rights.
Yeah, it's, they're supplying it. As I had a little talk with the town treasurer this morning, they seem to think, and I kind of agree, that, it would be okay to just, pay rights. I can pay them with my good check. They'll give me the invoice with check number and date on it and so forth. I turn that over to the, town assistant manager, and they give it to the treasurer, who cuts the check on Wednesday, and I can pick it up on Thursday. In the meantime, rights is paid, and we have the, lumber to use. That's what the, town treasurer tells me.
So the check from the town would be made out to Craig Sanborn.
Ultimately, because I would be,
You're being reimbursed.
I'm being reimbursed for something that I bought from rights.
Right, okay, as long as you don't get into trouble with the IRS claiming that that's income.
Oh, no, it certainly isn't.
I know it isn't, but you've got to be able to prove that if they want to ask you about it.
Well, I'll tell you this. I would tend to think that, I can rely on the, town government to back me up on my story.
Okay. So fine,
They're surprised they couldn't.
as long as you're satisfied with that procedure, that's fine with me. I don't, as everybody else.
Oh, yeah, I think
That's
it's
the way you
wonderful
do
what
it.
he's done. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. I mean, I didn't understand most of it, but it sounds like quite a
Okay,
project.
a motion to authorize the expenditure of $120 for Hemlock.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
have a
Okay.
motion in a second. You guys just need to vote.
Yeah, okay, the motion is there, seconded?
Mhm.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? You got your $120.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members of the commission.
thank
And I
you,
will
Craig.
call rights tomorrow to arrange for that, lumber to get sawn as soon as they can. I'll probably be able to pick it up on Monday. So he said.
Is the storage facilities at the Department of Public Works satisfactory?
Entirely.
And the electricity source is okay?
Uh-huh,
All right.
we're all good.
And do you need another group of volunteers for this new project?
People we have are enthusiastic and capable, and I don't think we need to especially raise any new people. I do figure that, anybody who wants to volunteer for trails, you know, like I was saying before, you know, sign up at the town office and they will notify me.
Okay.
And that's the procedure they want.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sounds like you're making progress.
With any luck, next week, we'll have the people, and we'll definitely have the lumber, and we'll be able to build that 18-foot bridge a little further up there.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's wonderful to see these things being planned and.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, the first time I ever walked it, I said, it's a very unpleasant thing, realizing you have to jump ford the brook or jump the stones or whatever.
Mhm.
And it'd be kind of nice to have a proper bridge here.
Mhm.
And so, here we are.
Do you
Kurt,
remember when there was
wait.
just a plain log that you crossed? It was a great big log and it was plain flat and you had to walk across it?
Yeah, there are better ways to do these things.
Yeah, so this is wonderful.
Kurt?
Yeah, I've, since you're still here, I
Yes.
went out yet. Couple of questions on just the trail stuff. I think I heard you correctly, but what width are you making the bridges?
What width?
Yes,
3 by 8, so they're twice that, they're 16 inches wide.
Oh.
A 3 by 8 is 3 inches thick
yeah,
and 8 inches wide.
Yeah, so it's two of them. It's two
When
wide.
there's 2 of them, it's 16 inches wide, so
16 inches wide. That's just a little over a foot,
that's 16 inches, sir. That is,
4 inches more than that's the way you walk? Is that what you're saying?
that's right, it's,
Why do
the
you make-
usual normal width of a bog bridge in New England.
Yeah, I mean, if it's basically almost sitting on the ground, yeah. But, I mean, if you're crossing streams, you're a little bit more elevated.
Yes,
I'm just thinking in terms of snowshoeing. The convenience of,
well, I see that. The question of use by snowshoers has not been brought up to me before. It is certainly possible to do that, but it's going to be more expensive
Yeah,
to make them wider.
yeah.
And I haven't yet heard anybody say that they will appropriate money to make these wider.
They could take them off and walk across the bridge, which I've done many times on
I'm
different
talking
trails.
about the streams, where there's streams
Mhm.
Yep,
and you build a bridge, the streams are still soft. And
You walk
right
over.
through, if you try to go, where, yeah, I mean, it's all location based.
why there a bridge? I mean, it's why you have a bridge, so you can walk across it. If you have to take the snowshoes off, so as to have good footing.
And
Now, if there is a concern about people's balance, then it is quite possible to add handrails to these. Yeah, if you have a handrail for balance, then you shouldn't have any trouble at all walking across a 16-inch wide and perfectly smooth surface. You can do that.
Yeah, it's just something to consider. I think especially, I mean, I do a lot of trail walking and I'm familiar with when it's damp ground, you just don't want to be making it worse. You put the light on the logs or whatever the boards. That's one thing. Then when it snows, everything's frozen. It's fine. It's more the elevated, when you're clearing an actual stream bed situation where you want to stay on that bridge. But if it's too wide for two snowshoes, then it's,
You mean too narrow?
yes, excuse me, yes.
In that case, there's two things that could be done. One is to take off the shoes and walk across the bridge.
That's
And
pretty good.
two is we can add a handrail.
It's just
You
something
wouldn't
to look at.
normally have the two
That's all
snowshoes
I've heard
together.
so far. I haven't heard anybody saying we have to add a handrail.
I do a lot of snowshoeing. When I come to obstacles, I take my shoes off. I use them like walking sticks to get me across, to keep my balance. I get over whatever I'm doing, I put my shoes back on and off I go. Anybody who's had any experience with snowshoes would be able to deal with that.
The only question that I think needs to be addressed is to what extent the liability that this town may have if somebody falls off one of these bridges on town property, and that would be something we should consult the safety officer of Enfield about, as far as whether or not we need to build rails on those handrails. So I will ask him about that.
All right, where there is a concern, it is certainly practical to put up a handrail on one side for people's balance. Where the bridge is only 16 inches wide, you can't have the handrail just 16 inches apart. But one of them would certainly do for people's balance, and that can certainly be added at a small increased expense.
Okay, well, I will check it out with the safety officer here in Enfield, and if he thinks it's something that would be necessary to protect the town from liability, then we'll add that. If
That
he
would
doesn't
be,
think it's critical, then
that
we'll
would
just
be
leave
the
it alone.
size, but, and I quite agree with Kurt in that the only place it might be necessary to be on bridges over bumps.
Yeah, but that was,
Right, what you said.
feel it would be a wider or something more than 16 inches would be beneficial. Yeah. And the other question, when you talk about trails, but what about plastics roads? Folks, have any plans?
My question is, are there any town trails that are also on class 6 roads? I don't have the answer to that. Maybe this commission does.
Well, there is one trail off of Methodist Hill that's a class 6 road that has been used not very often because it's well overgrown. There's also a class 5 road, I think off of Ford, that goes up to what looks from the road that I've gone, when I've been by a junk heap, and I'm not sure whether it's somebody's house that's been abandoned or whether it's just but it's supposedly a class 5 road, which I believe is, eligible for people to walk on. Is that right, Kurt?
Well, it's class 5, it's
It's a town maintained.
town maintained road. Class 6 is town owned but non-maintained by Public Works. But as a trail, I believe, you can do drainage, you can do simple stuff
Well-
without getting into some questions.
Then the law may have changed since I was on the commission in the early 90s. All I know is that, they were quite afraid of liability if the town did any maintenance at all. But the law may have changed.
Yeah, I mean, because it's been done as a trail versus a maintenance for vehicles. It may be like just approving the drainage type of thing.
So
Something
this is
to
a
that.
matter of class A trails, class B trails, and the town's liability for class 6 roads.
But right now, currently the
It's
town,
not due.
currently the town does not have any class A or B trails. We only have trails that are hiking trails, created as hiking trail, that you're currently working on in class 6 roads.
Which, no one is working. So,
Correct.
well, then there's, no liability there that I know. What,
But I mean, there's some that could use just some basic maintenance. Not bridges and stuff like that, because 4-wheelers can still go down them. But even just helping with the drainage. Things of
there are
that
very
nature.
few roads that could be, having the drainage improved, you're right. So far, I haven't heard anyone saying that we ought to do that only. And if that gets said, then these questions have to be asked. And when one had the answers, then one can schedule the work.
Well,
Otherwise, I cannot be committal, not knowing what the, actual law is at this time.
you turned in a list of, work on certain trails that you felt was priority, right?
Yes, and it mostly had to do with, existing hiking trails like Bicknell Brook and Suki Marsh and the Harris Reservoir.
Okay,
And
so,
it had to do with, repair or new bridges.
right, and I think those are the priorities we should execute until they're finished, and then we can consider other possibilities.
And I quite concur because these are the necessary fixtures for people who use the trail reasonably safely. And we have already got this in progress. We have materials and probably this should be taken up next year at the earliest, because I know we're closing in on the end of the season this year.
Yes, you probably won't be able to do all the rest of those by the time the snow falls.
Certainly not.
Okay, so if all of you are in agreement that that list of things that Mr. Sanborn turned in first should be accomplished before we consider other maintenance problems.
Definitely, unless there was
Definitely,
an
we kind of
emergency.
discussed that,
Yeah.
that this was gonna be the project
Yeah.
of the year.
Okay.
All right.
And I'm not getting any response.
I can talk to you about that, but the short version is I have to leave a message and my phone number, and they eventually get back in about 2
Okay.
days.
Okay,
They're like shorthanded like everybody else.
yeah, okay, so you still live then?
Always there.
Yeah, okay.
Does anybody else have any other business?
You, public comments, so you mean? So we-
Yeah, that, I assume you came here to say something, so I'm giving you the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Thank you,
to say
Craig.
it. Thanks,
Good
Craig.
night, people.
You bet.
Good night.
And I will be in touch with Wrights tomorrow morning.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I got 2 other questions, comments. You folks interested in commenting on, not so much to me, but to the Methodist Hill Committee on that property? Because they had their meeting last night, the night before, and nobody from the conservation was there or recreation was either.
I didn't know there
Which
was an.
They're supposed to be on
We
the agenda. That's why I was curious.
I
Well, the
didn't,
Conservation Commission put up a warrant article to create a town forest on that 100 acres, and it was voted down by the population. And I assume that, they're interested in seeing to what extent the property can generate revenue. So as far as
I
I'm
mean,
concerned,
well, the committee is charged with finding out what the people want. So it's similar to the Johnson Drive
right,
Committee, you know, a fact gathering committee. And then there's, of course, the select board has the final say on what happens, but because I was at the meeting and I saw that you folks were listed on the agenda and
We were.
no, we know.
we never
didn't
got
know
an agenda
anything
of that
about
kind
it.
at all,
Okay.
ever.
contacts the chair, Susan Brown, I believe, is the chair of the committee. And if you're interested in having a commission, a formal comment or statement from the commission versus as individuals,
When
We
is
were
their
on
next
the-
meeting?
I don't know, you have to look at the.
Well, I'll get a hold of Susan Brown and ask her about that.
So I have a question, Kurt. I think one of the reasons it didn't progress any further than it did when we put the warrant on, the selectmen, they asked us if we had a plan. I mean, we were gonna manage the forest, but we were asked to have a plan.
Mhm.
You know, we had a proposal, but
Right.
no plan how to do that.
Yeah.
And I understand, I've never been there, but I've heard the property is absolutely worth fighting for. And that, I was just wondering if they were putting together a plan or some kind
No,
of,
they're just fact gathering. Like I said, just inviting the public, inviting the butters, the Recreation Commission, you folks.
So we were
Um,
supposedly invited,
If you're on their agenda,
No,
know that.
yeah,
but that's
yeah.
good. Now we'll be
Yeah,
looking
so
for
it's
something.
just, you know, look,
Mhm.
and so they basically said, we'll just reschedule at some point, but they went round and round with dates and things like that. So just contact the
I'll
chair.
contact Susan Brown and
Yeah.
ask her to send me specifically the agenda when they get
Yeah.
another meeting scheduled.
Yeah.
Thank you for that update. I had no idea that they had
Yeah,
even
that was-
considered that, because I thought they were just mulling over whether it was worthwhile putting it up for sale or not, and who they would, what the value of the property was.
Yeah.
There's a woman who lives next door to that property who wants to buy it.
Yeah.
And not develop it. She wants it as open space. But, she has supposedly gotten a forester and a wetland scientist and has asked Alan Strickland to go and look the property for vernal pools, but I have not seen any reports from those groups as to whether or not that would impinge on the development of the property.
And I mean, it was mentioned of several people making offers, the Parrish family, I guess, made an offer. But as town property, it has to go out to bid. It's
Yeah,
an
I
open bid-
understand
an Open bidding.
Yeah.
So, like any other town property that gets listed for sale. It's not, I choose you as my buyer type of thing.
Where are the meetings held? Kurt?
Yeah,
They are, I would love to, I've never been to the property. I would love to see pictures if somebody could bring pictures. I'd love to see.
You want me to take you out there?
Right now, I'm so busy. I mean, no, I don't have time to go anywhere, but I would, I'd love to see the pictures. But thank you for the offer.
The committee meets again on the 17th, it looks like.
17.
Okay, and that
Of
other
October.
meeting is
Yeah,
the
it's a
14th.
Tuesday.
But thank you, Dr. Tice, for volunteering.
and my other question is, curious as the status of the donation to the Shaker Museum. What's happening? I just saw in your minutes from previously that was being discussed and just wondering if that's still going through.
No, the lawyers said we couldn't donate to it because there wasn't any indication that it was going to be left as open space for conservation purposes.
Okay,
But I think that the Shaker Museum, I would like to add, is trying to put together a letter of intent that they were going to try to put that into conservation, or they had conservation measures they wanted to apply. Is that,
I haven't heard anything about that.
yeah, oh,
But
we
that doesn't
did.
mean it's not true.
It was in, I think,
On the
it's not in-
committee and Charlie's wife is chair.
Yeah, I think they were gonna try, they said there was nothing they could do up to the 28th. Nothing would be ready.
Yeah,
Remember them at Mike
yeah,
Ramey?
they said they would be interested in exploring whether or not that's something
And
they
they could
could
give a
get
letter
in writing
to,
for,
yeah.
to work with the commission. That's what they said at their presentation last.
Right, well, it didn't come up at our board meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
I went to talk to Mary Hagan.
Yeah,
She said that they were supposed to close, on the 28th, but the lawyer hadn't gotten the papers together. So it was this last Sunday that they were supposed to do that. I haven't called her yet to see whether they've generated the money they needed. She thought they would have it by then,
They closed on the 29th.
29.
Yes, and they did generate the money they needed for that, but we still have.
Oh, well, I know that there's another 1.5 million for the renovations, but the point is, the first thing is to secure the property.
yeah,
And that has been done.
Great.
you guys,
And,
congratulations.
there was no money from the Conservation Commission that was donated because we were prohibited from using our trust funds for that purpose.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
I believe it.
Did you?
Hi, I'm Charlie Depew. I'm Mary Ann's my wife.
Oh, Mary Ann Hagan?
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
but I'm not here to talk about the museum, right?
Can I get the spelling of your last name? for me?
DEPUY.
Thank you.
We've lived on Lake Nisqually for 30 years now. And we've walked into species loss. And traffic of the all sorts increase. And we're very worried about this lake. And the summer has been very hard on it with Santa Victoria and vine trees. I think there were 3 of them. I know that Crystal Lake has their own problem. Just recently, the DES has awarded Lake Mascoma. I assume that means both Lebanon and Enfield, 100,000 to plan for a watershed protection. To draft a watershed protection plan. And I wondered if the commission here has any knowledge of that.
This is for the Mascoma River group that's gotten this money, correct?
No, it's Lebanon and, Lebanon is part of it too.
Yes,
Been working
Lebanon
with
would be
Lebanon.
part of it since Mascoma Lake
But the
is,
Mascoma Rivers Association goes all the way down there.
Right.
because-
It's a whole Mascoma watershed.
it's,
Correct.
Is what it's
But
gonna
who
cover.
has gotten the money?
I assume that both,
Just,
town managers.
Yeah, just a second,
okay.
I can read you it and
so it's the town manager,
and Lebanon. It's a joint thing.
right?
But will this commission be part of that process?
Yes.
Have no idea.
Yes,
I would hope so.
the town manager has already, had spoke to me about it, and I would like to represent the Conservation Commission on
Got it.
that committee.
Go right ahead.
Let me see. I received word today that our grant has been selected and we will receive the 100,000 for the creation of a Mascoma watershed protection plan. I will be working with the city of Lebanon to obtain city council approval and start the consultant selection program. We will also start working on what the committee makeup should look like for the working portion of this plan. And so it does, cover a very wide area, very big area, the Mascoma. Right, so they can't have too many on the committee because that would not be good.
Is
Either.
it gonna include Canaan as well?
So so it is the whole river for the grants or just? No, it's the lake.
That's my understanding.
It's
The lake was awarded this grant.
the whole Mascoma watershed.
Or a Mascoma Lake or Mascoma River.
Yeah,
Are they all in it?
yeah,
Watershed?
Mascoma watershed includes a lot of property.
The way,
Yeah.
the way
Yeah,
it
not
was
just the lake.
expressed,
Do you have a map?
Yeah.
Yep, the map of the last Mascoma watershed is right here.
Well,
the way it was expressed to the Eskimo Lake Association was that the lake was awarded money
okay, because that's a different watershed than the river.
for its watershed
Mm.
protection
Yeah.
plan study.
Yeah, okay.
See, this calls it the Mascoma Watershed Protection Plan,
Yes,
which
yes,
the watershed is
Yes.
huge.
but the lake was the
Yeah.
awardee.
Right, it's the lake's watershed. Just the watershed that goes into the lake.
Mhm.
So
Which includes Crystal, it includes, yes.
no,
it
That's
includes-
the watershed for the Mascoma watershed. I don't know how you separate what goes into the lake from the surrounding hills as opposed to what goes into the lake from the river, because the river is gonna contribute a heck of a lot more to the Mascoma Lake than the watershed itself does.
Yeah.
Because the watershed is running into the Mascoma River.
you know,
Did you want to say?
Well, I don't think the money is going to all these towns. I think the
No.
money is going to Enfield and London.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
But there will be people on the committee from the watershed, from the
Is that
different,
right?
representing the different
Is,
areas in the watershed.
so you are gonna be the representative of the Conservation Commission. And I would appreciate you providing whoever is chair, if that takes that long, with the reports from the committee that you are serving.
Mhm. It hasn't even been formed yet.
No, I
I
know,
will
but
certainly
eventually
keep
it will be.
informed.
so,
Good for you, Shirley. Thank you.
I just have one other thing to say. There are three big, developments, if you want to call them that concern me. One is the property over near the Shaker Museum, which, on which two rather large, houses are being built. There's a stream that runs by them and a shoreline as well. The Fish and Game have produced 3 clear cuts up on Shaker Mountain, which will clearly affect the lake as runoff. And the Dartmouth Sailing Club is blasting into the rock face of its roadside, the roadside of its property.
Is that up, May, is that up,
Shaker Boulevard.
May?
Shaker.
It's on Shaker Boulevard.
Oh, it's on Sugar Boulevard.
And it's, they've torn down most of their buildings. They're going to rebuild a sailing club there.
Okay.
And they're, to do it, they are blasting. And the
We
place,
haven't received
place
any
looks
notice.
like a quarry.
Well, we haven't received any notice of their permits to do that.
It's
I
frightening.
didn't know it till I drove by there.
You saw the signs blasting?
I saw that
Over there
after,
Blasting.
but I drove down that road. Took a detour to go down that road, hoping my grandson would fall asleep before we got home. And I couldn't believe that at first I didn't even know what it was. I saw these big long trailer trucks and that whole hillside is just, where
Yeah.
it's very, very steep. It's
Yeah.
just been,
Taking down a lot of trees.
oh,
And this is just so they could get their sailboats in shelter without putting the mast down? That's
Well,
what I read.
not necessarily, they just.
Yeah, well, I read that somewhere.
This is an interesting question. Is this a new facility? In which case, does it trigger the change of use, restrictions,
How did they get?
requiring a new site,
Right.
approval? Or is this modern, just, modernization, repair, rehabilitation? is the
But they
word I'm
took the
looking for.
building down, you said, they took the building down, have they completed?
Oh, yeah, there's a shed left, but everything else is.
So
done.
that's not renovating, that's for sure.
They came to
It
the
sure
planning
isn't.
board.
But-
They came to the planning board,
Mhm.
maybe like a month or so ago.
Yeah,
That's when the planning board approved it.
did they ask for a site plan approval?
I'd have to look through the minute. They're online, but I can't recall what what their request was, but they did go to the planning board. And the one thing I can remember about it is that they are not planning to increase the number of boats that they're storing. But I think it was like quite a bit of facility updating that they're doing.
$8 million.
Like handicap accessibility and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Does it involve the lake itself?
Well, the lake shoreline is feet away from their construction. It's
Okay,
protected.
so the point is that they have not put in a shoreline permit to the Conservation Commission. There's been nothing that I see that's the DES has had any input, and if that is involving a body of water, the state should have had some input as regards preventing silting and so forth. Nothing has come across the Conservation Commission's desk, not from the town clerk, not from anybody.
July 26th, if that is helpful for you to look at the
Okay.
minutes
I'll
of
look
the
at
planning board.
Thank you. Well, I'm just bringing it to your attention.
Well, probably a little late, but
Well, of course.
nobody asked us by your leave, or do you have any comments?
Well, the state doesn't really, they have a Shoreline Protection Act, but they don't really regulate that. Their way of regulating is to, insist that the developer hire an engineer registered in the state. That's how this New Hampshire regulates its shoreline. And, we have a lake that's, dying.
Yeah.
as a result.
And they hope that they always hope that the town will step up and regulate.
Well,
That doesn't happen.
the
Very
town plan doesn't seem to have a shoreline zone in mind. And that's the only way the town can have any control over what's going on.
And it's sad because those lakes, if the value of our lakes goes down, that's really gonna hurt the people who are only thinking about the economy.
I can provide a little bit of clarification. So they came to the planning board in July for a minor site plan review. And at that meeting, Dartmouth said that DES had approved a shoreland permit for them on July 13th, 2023.
So
So
which we never.
We never got a copy of that either.
Yes,
so the town has a copy of the permit.
okay.
Well, that's the reason we're not getting an opportunity to give an opinion, is that the information isn't being passed on to us.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for that information.
Sorry to be the bearer.
No, I mean, it'll be a point that we can, query why
Yeah.
it was that nobody contacted the Conservation Commission, and how is it that DES has given them permission to do this, when it clearly is a potential damage, for the lake.
The DES is a very thin line against, lake pollution from runoff.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, the eventuality of all lakes is to silt in and become marshes and then have climate vegetation there. And these lakes are all surrounded by hills. The water runs down them even if you don't have any houses there. But many of the people that have built houses on the lake shore, have cleared their land so they can see the lake, which increases the opportunity for silting to take place.
Yes.
And you have a lot of septic systems that are leaking. I've been collecting water out of Crystal Lake and taking it to the Department of Public Health for culturing enterobacteria, which are used by the Public Health Department as an indication of sewage contamination. And I'm getting positive results from the town, from the water in front of these houses that are built very close to the lake with limited amounts of adequate septic systems, because there are three things that are conflicting this. First of all, there's a requirement that if you tear down a camp to build a two-story year-round residence, you must build it on the same footprint as the old camp. Secondly, the building of a larger structure, number of bedrooms, which is supposedly determining the size of the septic system you have, you don't have to put in a new septic system. You just have to submit a plan for a new septic system, and you don't have to install it until that septic system that's already there has failed. And the third problem is you can't go on a person's piece of property without the owner's permission. So there's no way that you can inspect that sewer system to see how that septic system to see if it's failed. So the point is that the ordinances here have shot themselves in the foot in many ways.
My concern is not E. coli per se. I know this is happening, that the systems are leaking. My concern is phosphates. That's what leads to cyanobacteria.
Yeah, well, we're using the cyanobacteria as an indicator of sewage leaking. The phosphates and the nitrogen and so on are all coming out along with the bacteria to begin with. Because you go into a leach field, you've got water there, and that's carrying the minerals with it. So when those leach fields fail to separate it out, and they're so close to the lake surface that the ground is adequate to funnel it out, to filter them out, and people are using fertilizers on their lawns, you have this flow of nitrogen continuing into the lake, phosphorus too. Phosphates as well.
New Hampshire Lakes Association sent out 3 maps recently as a fundraiser to show the spread of cyanobacteria warnings.
Yeah.
And we're on the last map. 1 through 22. And obviously, we're also on 23, which is drawing to a close. Those, the last map reflects all the rain we've had this summer. And that rain is mainly bringing runoff. It's not causing increased leakage of septic. It's causing runoff from lawns that are mowed within an inch of their life and driveways.
Yeah, it all adds up, though. I mean, it's just part of it. I'm not saying that the leaking septic systems are the only cause, not at all.
But some of those old ones are saturated from this rain, and that's what's causing.
That's gotta be coming.
That's true too.
Pardon me,
It's gotta be coming out of them if they're saturated.
of course. And the only thing that isn't in your leach field is solids. Everything else from your septic system is in your leach field.
Yeah.
You know, people are changing the flow of the water without it being known. You know, people are putting in their own culverts because their driveways are getting, so they're directing the water and against the flow of the water, and so it joins other waters and makes more surge, a stream that ordinarily wouldn't be so forceful, so it's all
DES.
people.
DES controls culverts within 100 feet of the lake. So
But they're not, there's no way to, you know, the only way you know there's a problem is something goes wrong. They're not respected. The people do their own work and
So
that creates problems.
didn't somebody mention, was it you, Dr. Tice, mentioned we should have an environmental officer to supervise or monitor what's going on? Who was talking about that? It wasn't you. Somebody brought it up that some town has an environmental monitor, an officer position in the town.
Well, Mr.
Aaron Zweig?
Yeah, Aaron Zweig, his titles are building inspector, health officer, and safety inspector. So, I mean, these things about leaking sewage systems certainly have a health effect, but I think the Conservation Commission, if we were properly notified, is supposed to fill that function, at least bringing it to the planning board and the DES's attention. But when you don't get any
Right.
information, or you get a single sheet like this, here's a shoreland permit application, and it's a single page, nothing else about it. So, and we never,
Doesn't say a thing about what they're proposing.
yeah, so anyway, it's a matter of communications falling through the cracks.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we can make a point of that, and certainly, I think it
I
should
think
be
it's
that.
worth it. Everything helps.
Yeah, of course.
And the Dartmouth thing is pretty outrageous.
yes,
Well, it would help if the owners of property nearby or along that road would also write to the town manager and say, you know, and the planning board and as many other people as you can think of and say, you know, what's going on here?
Yeah.
The right hand doesn't know what the left's doing and the left hand is screwing up the place.
Well, I'm conveying the point that the Conservation Commission heard nothing about this.
and with they're on the listserv, the only reason a lot of people knew was that there was a notice from.
About the blasting.
Yeah, there's going to be blasting on Old Shaker Boulevard. There may be, you know, certain neighbors, you know, gonna be affected by the noise and by rattling and whatever, windows shaking. And so everybody's saying, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Even when after I drove by, I inquired to make sure. I had no idea that
It was
the sales
startling
club
to
was
see it.
doing anything to update over there. And, so I inquired to, because that's the only place I could think of that would be doing.
I was in a boat, near the site this afternoon, and it's, have big blast mats and, big drills. Pretty obvious.
Is it because it's rock ledge? Why?
They're removing the ledge
Mhm.
up against the cliff that leads up to Shaker
Mm.
Boulevard.
How many springs do you think are gonna open up there?
Mm,
I have no idea, but, they're digging an enormous amount of, phosphate laden rock out of that cliff.
What do they expect to hold the road up when they're done?
I don't know.
Is there any way, I mean, is there any plan we would come up with such as minimal as watching the agendas that the planning board or the CBA? And, you know, I try to listen to them, but maybe I should start going to more and hear what people are, what's coming down, you know, go to the planning board, then maybe to the ZBA and sort of get a feel of what's going on and why are these things being passed through.
Cause it must have been in the works for a while. I wouldn't have think they would approve this at one meeting.
Yeah, they've been raising money for a long time.
Raising money from,
The Dartmouth Sailing Club has been raising money from Dartmouth alums.
don't you love? Yeah,
Some of it diverted away from, the purchase of the Los Allet property.
oh, that's so sad. Well, I'm gonna try to go to watch the agendas and just try to get a feel of what's going on in this town, because it's like the lobbyists, a lot of things that we used to be able to monitor or be involved with, it's been taken away. Like, we don't really, except for writing a letter that we're worried about something, we have shoreline protection. They sort of taken that away from the commission. Is that right, Dr. Tice? Did I say that right?
Yeah, the regulations that I've read that you all have copies of say that the DES or that the Conservation Commission has very little input to shoreline permits.
That's right, it skips right over the town.
Yeah.
Goes straight to the developer,
I know.
who has to hire a licensed engineer.
Well, I'm gonna try to watch the agendas and,
And I know the town plan has been approved, but there should be a lake shore. So
Well, those can be put up with warrant articles.
They're very valuable, our lakes are a very valuable resource to this town.
Maybe you can generate a group of people who are willing to put a warrant article up to create
I can't do that. I don't vote in the town anymore, but I can find.
Do you
some-
live in the town?
Hmm?
Do you live in the town?
We have a place on Mescom Lake that we've lived in for 30 years, but we have recently moved to Lebanon,
Oh, I see. Okay.
and we vote there.
All right.
But Lebanon has an interest in the lake as well.
Yes,
yeah, you think, yeah.
Okay.
they should have.
Yeah, they're drinking the water.
Oh, plus quite a bit of it is Lebanon property.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And the water is
Yeah.
not that good.
They've been thinking about drilling wells because of that.
Thank you for
Thank
that.
Yes,
you
thank
for
you very
that
much.
information.
Good seeing you.
Okay, I am going to resign from the commission as of December 31st of this year. And I am sitting here for these next few months to give you an opportunity to decide amongst yourselves who, if anybody wants to be the chairman, or whether you want to switch it around every month. That's up to you. I will not be taking part in the decision. So it will be up to those of you who are on the commission, including Jay
Mm.
and Kate Stewart, who didn't show up tonight. You mentioned that Kate Stewart didn't show up, right?
Yeah, she's listed on the, agenda as not being here.
Okay, she didn't give me any indication she wasn't coming. So that will be up to you, and you've got basically until the January meeting to make your decisions on who's gonna take over.
Are you resigning from the commission entirely or just as?
I'm
chair?
resigning from the commission entirely.
Okay, I just want to make sure I had it correct.
That's what it says on the agenda.
Yep.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Remember, I had something I wanted to share.
Oh, sorry.
And, the Eastman Charitable Foundation is having their annual forum on October 17th at the Grantham Town Hall. And, this year it's on, the night visitors, wildlife images captured on backyard game cameras. And it's presented by the New Hampshire Forest Society Naturalists and NHPR Something Wild co-host Dave Anderson. And what it's going to, a brief summary of what it'll be about is learn about wildlife habits and habitats, including seasonal breeding seasons and behaviors of local native wildlife in the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region. And how do forest food cycles drive the relative abundance or shortage of wildlife we see in our backyards? What is the current status of bobcats and bears in New Hampshire? How do oak acorn cycles affect the populations of the rodent prey base? When do porcupines mate? How might climate change affect long-term wildlife populations found in New Hampshire forests? When cameras are placed strategically, they can provide unique opportunities to learn about wildlife behavior. Bring your own wildlife photographs in your various New Hampshire wildlife questions to this entertaining and informative evening presentation. If you have any game cam images of your own, you can email them to the treasurer at ECF. And this is by October 10th for an inclusion in a pre-talk slideshow. And it's also going to be hybrid, so you can go on to the ECFNH.org website and register for the online option if you'd like to. But it's free and open to the public.
What's the
And
date on that?
It's
again?
October 17th.
I'm losing all my
Yep,
dates here.
I'm gonna start putting it on a listserv right away.
Thank you.
What is the email address to send photos from game cameras?
Treasurer at ECFNH.org.
Treasurer
And
at
they'd like them by October 10th.
NCH? You've got to read that slowly because I'm gonna
Okay.
write it down.
Treasurer,
Is it spelled
At-
out completely, treasurer?
yes,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Canaan.
at ECFNewHampshire.org. I'm gonna be doing some listserv things and
Are
I'll
you gonna
be
be
sure
doing
to
that?
send
Okay,
them-
good. 'Cause I
send
don't
them
know
to
who
you
this-
too.
ECF.org.
Yep, ECF, Eastman Charitable Foundation. It's abbreviated.
Oh.
NH.org,
Oh, it's NH.org.
yes. And you
Okay.
can go online to the ECF website if you want to register for the Zoom. And they will be notifying people, I think it says here.
Are
on
you gonna have that
October.
website on
Yep.
your listserv? Okay.
I will.
October.
It's 7 o'clock to 8:30
Mhm.
at the Grantham Town Hall. The doors are open at 6:30. And of course, we'll have refreshments.
That's a sure, you always have good refreshments. You're Eastman people.
But
Anything else?
that's it, sorry.
Move to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned at 8:25.
I do want to say that I'm very sorry to hear that you're
Yeah.
planning to resign.
Well, I appreciate your concern, but I've been here 9 years and maybe this will be an opportunity for